one of his principal temples at Sringeri Mutt. And the place was named after Shringa Giri, the place that was the residence of Rishishringa. Many of you were familiar with Ramayana. You familiar with Ramayana? A little bit. You know who is Lord Ramachandra, right? Lord Ramachandra. Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Yeah, okay. So, Ramachandra was the son of King Dasarath. King Dasarath had no sons, and there was a Putra Kameshta Yagya performed by Rishishringa, by which he had Supreme Lord Ramachandra as his son. So what happened after that is Rishishringa came to this place and made it a place where he kept his residence, and thus Shringa Giri, a place of residence of Rishishringa. Here's a painting where Rishishringa is shown on the right as a sage. There's a whole story of how he made his way to King Dasarath's kingdom. It's a very interesting story within Ramayana. And on the upper left part of that painting, he's preparing to do this yagya. Here's the yagya, and as a result, there's not only one son, but 4 sons, because there were 3 wives. It's a long story. But Rishishringa is the person after whom Sringeri, the place Sringeri was named. So this is just a little history. We're going to go back chronologically in his life, because before he was a sannyasi, he did many things. But as a sannyasi, when he came to this place, Sringeri, he found something. He found that the inhabitants in Sringeri were largely very virtuous, and they were engaged in Vedic rituals and yagyas and sacrifices. They had very good character and quality. They received him very nicely. And this inspired him to make this his place of residence. There's another very specific event that inspired him. When he came to this place, he saw a cobra, which is normally a predator for frogs. There was a female frog that was in labor, so the cobra raised his hoods and shaded the female frog while she was going through labor. And he thought, this is pretty amazing. Even predatorial species are protecting one another. It's a very unusual place. So I'd like to make my first main temple here in Sringeri. So there's a painting that shows the same. Here's a sculpture that shows the same. And see, he established a temple at this very place where he saw the cobra protecting the frog. And in the temple, he established a deity of Goddess Saraswati on top of a Sri Chakra. And there's a painting illustrating Goddess Saraswati and the Sri Chakra. So he had deity worship, although his teaching later became very clearly Nirguna Brahman. We'll hear some more, especially tomorrow, how he recognized Saguna Brahman worshipping a deity form. It's a long story. May help one to get to the higher stage of the Supreme Brahman without qualities. We'll hear more about it tomorrow. Lord Shiva, it is said in his biography, gave him a gift. And the gift was a particular Shiva Linga made of crystal. A Shiva Linga made of crystal. I've never seen such a thing. I've heard of it here, but I don't know. Has anyone ever seen a crystal Shiva Linga? It is said that even today, in Sringeri Math, at 9 p.m., the very same crystal Shiva Linga that was given to Shankaracharya by Lord Shiva is worshipped at 9 p.m. every day. Very fixed practice. As a sannyasi, he had, like this painting shows, 4 principal assistants as sannyas disciples, and here it gives their names. And as we go along, we'll hear something, a little bit about each one of them. So now we'll go back to, chronologically, back to his birth. The place for his birth, Kaladi, was his birthplace. You're taking lots of pictures. You like pictures? Me too. Is that okay? So there's a photograph of the place where he took birth. Here's a map of the place where he took birth in Kerala. And there's the river near the banks of the river where his birthplace was. And here on the right side is the actual house. Now, the next photograph is the temple of Lord Shiva, where his mother and father prayed to Lord Shiva to have the privilege of begetting a son. You'll see 3 photographs. They look quite different. This one looks a little messy over on the left side, and the building looks a little bit run down, probably an older version of the same place. Here's a newer version, looks a little spiffy, much cleaned up, a nice grass lawn. There's an annual festival where there's flowers during the Oman festival, and they decorate it very nicely with flowers. And then there's another festival called the Trishur festival, where deities from 10 different temples are brought together before the same place, this temple of Lord Shiva, and musical instruments and many rituals, and looks like a lot of people participate in this festival. So there's the temple that houses today the deity that was being prayed to by the parents of Shankaracharya. At the time when they were praying to the deity of Lord Shiva, he was underneath a tree, Muleshwara, Shiva under a tree. And then in the 2nd century, the deity was shifted to the temple complex. This is a painting showing his father and his mother. Shiva Guru was his father's name, and Aryamba, was his mother's name. And this shows the temple as we see it today, and there's the deity of Lord Shiva as we see it today. But it was underneath a tree during their time. And there's another painting. They're worshipping Lord Shiva and undergoing austerities and the rituals that were customary according to brahmanas of their period of time. One night, the father, Shiva Guru, had a dream, and Lord Shiva appeared to him in his dream. And Lord Shiva blessed him, saying, "I'd like to give you a benediction. Tell me what it is that you would like." And he was desiring a son, so he asked the benediction of having a son. And Lord Shiva said, "Yes, I will give you a son, but you're going to have to make a choice. Here's the 2 options. 1, you'll have an all-knowing, virtuous son, but short-lived. 8 years, right? That's short-lived. 8 years, short-lived, right? Okay, it's okay, it's okay. So that was one of the choices. This is his dream. And then the other, you'll have a son live a very long life, but he won't have any special virtue or any special greatness. So what's your choice? In his dream, Shiva Guru said, the first one, please. Then after he woke up, he shared the dream with his wife. His wife accepted, they both accepted, that this was a commitment from Lord Shiva to both of them. In the course of time, his wife, Yamba, became pregnant, and the child within her womb was surcharged, the way the biography reads, with the spirit of Lord Shiva. Flowers fell from the sky as the demigods knew Lord Shiva was going to make his appearance and correct this big problem. And they did a horoscope. Of course, along with the horoscope said he would live for 8 years. Here's some of the rest. This child will grow into a scholar, capable of defeating any opponent in debate. He will be the promulgator of a new philosophy. It certainly was a new philosophy, but not so new. It's been around for a long time. He will gain recognition as a master of all learning. His reputation will last as long as the world exists. That's a long time, his reputation. This child will indeed be a perfect man. What more can we say? That's the astrologers. So mom and dad, they're really happy, and they named the child Sri Shankaracharya. And there was a purpose or etymological meaning behind giving this name. Kara means to give or bestow, and Sam, he gave all happiness. So they saw him as a person who would give happiness to everyone. And there's a second meaning that just added to honor Lord Shiva, Shankaracharya. Now, as mentioned, there are 10 principal biographies of his life. The other 9 have different versions of where and circumstances, and we're not going to go into the other 9 versions. Thank you. We're just taking this principal one. It's widely accepted. So he had a pretty amazing childhood. We'll start with his first year. In the first year, he could master all languages. Moms and dads here in the audience, do you know any child that can master languages during their first year, besides goo goo, gaga, and babble? Proficient in languages. At 2, he recited all books that he hadn't seen yet. And he had mastery of the kavyas. Kavyas means the poetic forms of expression, and the Puranas. 2. Moms and dads, 2. Pretty exceptional, huh? He mastered the 4 Vedas and the auxiliary branches without any instruction. Not possible. Till later he gets a guru that gives him instructions, but he already knew. But he was following the procedure that you show by example of that which he already knew. He heard it again and learned it again. So now he's still 2 years old. At 3 years of age, his father passed away. So for 1 year, during that 3rd year of his life, there were rituals and rituals and rituals observed for the departure of one's father. Now, at 5 years of age, his mother, in the absence of the father, arranged for some brahmanas to conduct his upanayana. Upanayana means the young boy will now be authorized to study. So he entered school at 5, having received upanayana. It's much earlier than Brahmana families normally have upanayana given to their child. But he was a little precocious, so he began his studies at 5 years of age. Quickly, he had a teacher. He learned, he already knew them. He had demonstrated, but he already knew them. Now he's learning them again, and all 4 Vedas. And the 6 different darshans of those 4 Vedas. He learned them quickly. And the other students couldn't keep up. In 2 to 3 months, he had mastered everything. School's over, right? He mastered everything at 5 years of age. Everything. Not a few things. Rituals, logic, yoga, philosophy, sankhya, mimamsa, everything. 5 years. While he was still in his classmate days, he, with the other students, were sent to go to receive alms at the homes of householders. It's a brahmachari procedure. To learn humility and to assist the householders in their duty of being charitable. Little boys, little brahmacharis in school, the school outfits, would go to somebody's home and ask for alms. So one time he went to the alms for the home of a very poor Brahmana family. And the lady of the home was there, but she was so poor, she was unable to give anything. And it was great fortune, she expressed, that she should have the privilege of giving in charity to a nice student like you, but I really don't have anything other than gooseberries. So gooseberries, that's in English, it's amalaki fruit, that's my understanding. Amalaki. I know what it is, but it's also known as amalaki. Is that all right? Amla. Gooseberry. Amalaki. Amla. Gooseberry. That's all she had. So there she's giving all that she had. And so Shankaracharya felt badly for the lady, and so he spontaneously composed a prayer to the goddess of fortune that was this Kanaka Dara prayer. And he offered this Kanaka Dara prayer to the goddess Lakshmi. And so what did the goddess Lakshmi do? She appeared before him and said, however, this couple cannot be a recipient of my blessings because they haven't done any meritorious piety activities. So Shankaracharya then said to Goddess Lakshmi, if you consider that I am a worthy recipient, she gave me gooseberries, so that's some pious merit. So she's now deserving your mercy, please give your mercy. So Goddess Lakshmi was persuaded. And she transformed all the gooseberries in her house into gold. Pretty nice gift. Filled the house with pellets of gold the size of amla fruits. Right? Amla fruits. He's smiling. Gooseberries. So the people in the village were very pleased with him. The Brahmana community was very pleased with him. He was charming the whole community besides his teacher. So he did his studies up until, well, he learned everything from his teacher. And then what do you do after you learn everything from your teacher? At 7 years old, he went back home having learned everything from his teacher. And he had great regard for his mother. Remember, his father had died when he was young, so she's a widow, and she only has her son. So he engaged in serving his mother in various ways. He performed all the fire sacrifices done twice daily and all the other rituals that a young Brahmana boy would do. Now, this biographer who likes Shankaracharya a lot said anyone that saw him, even when some boys, they get a little, feisty, a little wrestling and pushy and aggressive, they lost all of that just being around Shankaracharya as a small boy. Elderly people, they immediately offered him a seat of respect. Just his presence was like that. He engendered people. His presence was like that. So his mother, now he's 7 years old, and his mother was daily taking bath in the nearby river, in the Purna River. However, one time, because she was doing so much austerity, she fainted and collapsed. So little boy, 7 years old, somehow managed to find his mother and revive his mother and gave assurances to his mother that everything's going to be all right. So he stood by the side of the river and offered prayers to the goddess of the river, saying, please change your course so my mother doesn't have to walk so far to take her morning bath. And that's what happened. The next morning, the river changed its course and flowed very near to her home, so she didn't have to walk so far. Miracle. And rivers don't change course when you offer prayers, so your mother doesn't have to get exhausted. Now he's a little boy, he's a schoolboy, less than 8 years old, because there's a shift when he returns 8 years old. The king of this area came to know about him. The king of Kerala heard about this boy. So he sent a minister to request this boy, 7-year-old boy, to come see him. And he sent the minister with a whole troop of elephants, a large number of elephants, to bring an elephant procession to his palace, king of Kerala. So what did the boy say? He said, I'm a brahmachari. I don't leave my duties. I stay with my duties, and I'm not at all interested in riding on elephants or being honored by the king. Thanks, but no thanks. Detached. So what did the king do? The painting shows the king came to offer his respects to the little boy. And when he came to the house of the little boy, he asked the little boy if he would like to hear some poetry that he had written in glorification. 3 dramas, not poetry. And the little boy, Shankaracharya, was appreciating the poetry or the dramas so much, he requested the king, please take some benediction from me. Anything you want, any boon you want. 7-year-old boy giving this benediction to the king of the whole state. So the king said, yes, I'd like a son like you. That's the benediction I would like. So the boy said, very well, it's yours. But you have to perform this putra kameshti yagya. There's a particular yajna that you're to do. And so the king, very, very happy at meeting this little boy and getting this benediction from the boy and instructions of what he needed to do to have a son like him, he was very happy and he did what he said. 7 years old, he's influencing the king. Now he's getting ready for sannyas. He's 7 years old. So he is doing all his duties. He's with his mother, and for many, many days he's doing everything very attentively. He's showing he's worshipping Tulsi Devi. Look at that, offering flowers and incense for Tulsi Devi, and very humble and nice behavior, nice qualities. And he decided, although I'm the only support from my mother, I don't want to become married. Then something happened. This is before he turned 8. 4 sages, Gautama Rishi, Agastya Rishi, Upamanyu and Dadichi, these 4 sages, they came and they stayed in the home of Shankaracharya and his mother. They were really happy. These are very celebrated personalities. And while they were there, they were treated by the greatest respect by both the young boy and his mother. And then they had some discussions. They were instructing this young precocious boy in various matters. And one topic that came up was the mother came to know that he would have a very short lifespan. Now this says 32 years, and I'm not sure if that's right. It's supposed to be 8 years, and he turned it from 8 years to 16. And he was going on, Agastya was going on with, the future of the child, and the sages didn't want him to talk too much, so they got up as if this is inappropriate. But his mother, she's a mother. She got a lot of anxiety. Oh, my poor son, he's going to live such a short lifetime. Although from the astrological chart from his birth, it was 8 years, and Agastya confirmed it. So she has this idea, I should get my son married. He's 8 years old, not even 8 years old, but marriages happened earlier, so that she would have someone to look after her if he's going to depart this world. If he has children, then someone can look after her in her old age and perform her funeral rites. And he had no interest in worldly life. Very strong renunciation spirit, very strong. So the son has the idea, I'd like to take sannyas. His mother has the idea, I'd like to get my son married. Sound familiar? So there was a crocodile incident. The crocodile incident was one time in the river, he was taking his bath. My mother's not going to let me take sannyas. So he wouldn't act against his mother's instructions. So one day, when he was in the river taking his bath, a crocodile caught him by the leg. And he called out to his mother. And his mother came running, and she began crying and crying and crying because all she could see the alligator or crocodile, and she could only see the face of her son. Oh, mothers, what would you do if you saw that? Your 7-year-old son being chomped at by a crocodile. So he called out to his mother and said, "Give me permission to take sannyas, and the crocodile will leave me alone." So she gave her permission immediately, and immediately the crocodile went away. So she was very happy And he was very happy. We don't know about the crocodile. So now they're back home, and he is saying, "Mother, I'm your son and servant. Tell me what this new sannyasi should do." "I shall certainly follow your command. Our relatives will certainly give you comfort." Now she doesn't want to say yes, and she doesn't want to say no. Poor mom. "It is indeed a great fortune that your life was saved through my giving you permission to become a sannyasi, but I desire very much that on my death you should come and perform my final rites yourself." Which was much more sensible than at 8 years old he gets married so she has some grandchildren. So that's what she wanted. And Shankaracharya replied, "Just call and I'll be there," basically. "Whatever your circumstance is, this or that, I will be there. Just call me and I'll be there. And your cremation, I'll take care of that. Send me away with your blessings, and 100-fold more times benefit will come to you than keeping me by your side." So now he has the consent of his widowed mother at 8 years of age to take sannyas, and Agastya gave this special blessing he could live another 8 years till he's 16. So remember, the Purna River shifted course by his prayer so his mother wouldn't have to walk such a distance. And there's in the town that they lived, there was a Krishna temple. And due to the floods of the Purna River, the temple walls were being destroyed. So Shankaracharya is deciding to leave to take sannyas after getting permission from his mother. Then the deity, didn't give the circumstance, but the deity spoke to Shankaracharya and said, "Because you moved the course of the river, now the walls of the temple are being destroyed, and I can't stay here anymore." So what's he going to do? He moved the deity to a safe place. Some reciprocation with the Krishna deity and Shankaracharya at the age of 8. So the biography takes a step back and takes a look at why is it that he was inclined. Well, he was very renounced. That's the third reason. Intense spirit of renunciation. But Agastya had revealed that he had some mission to perform. The mission to perform was to compose commentaries on scriptures, particularly Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra, Bhashya, and other literatures. So he gave him 8 more years to live. And his mother had given permission. So these, according to this biography, these are the 3 main reasons. So Aryamba recognizes that her son has this spirit of renunciation. She's not holding him back. He's not yet a sannyasi, but he starts touring around. He hasn't done his commentaries yet, but he started touring around, teaching this doctrine that he hadn't written yet, and eventually he's going to come back to home base Sringeri. While he stayed in Sringeri, he had the intuition that his mother was passing. And so he went quickly to her place, and he saw his mother. Despite the fact that he was a sannyasi, known for non-attachment, he became tender in his heart. Somehow, this is a little mixed up. He hasn't taken sannyas yet. something's that has to be adjusted. So she knew that he was speaking and writing on transcendental topics, and so she wanted to hear his teachings about the Absolute. He started explaining to her, just went over her head. So then he decided to do something else. He spoke a mantra to Vishnu. She heard the mantra to Vishnu as she was leaving her body. So this biography says her mind was absorbed in Vishnu when she left her body. That's the mother, Aryamba. Now he has to perform her cremation. So he asked the nearby people where she lived, could I get some assistance in performing the cremation? They said no, because as a sannyasi, you shouldn't be doing this ritual anyways. So what did he do? He generated fire from his hand, performed the cremation. Now this shows him as a sannyasi. I'm a little confused, but he hasn't taken sannyas yet. So because now he's going to go meet his sannyas guru to be. So with his mother's consent, he traveled and traveled and traveled, this place, that place, the other place, with his walking stick, and he came to hear about a sage named Govinda Pada. Govinda Pada had a hermitage in a cave, and he wanted to receive teachings into the nature of Brahman from this sage living in a cave. So he went to the place where this sage was, Govinda Pada, and the entrance was from your elbow to the tip of your finger. It's called the cubit in biblical language, but that's a measurement. That was the opening of the cave. So he circumambulated around the cave 3 times, and paying his obeisances again and again, he recited a prayer to Govindapada. And he understood that Govinda Pada was an incarnation of Shesha. So here's the prayer, I'm just going to read it. I worship you, the incarnation of the great serpent, Shesha, who is the bed of Mahavishnu, an ornament of Lord Shiva, and the one on whose head the earth and all its mountains and rivers rest. You are the same sage, Patanjali, a manifestation of Adishesha, whose 1,000 faces put his disciples to fright, and who thereupon assumed a gentle form with a single face. You alone, as Patanjali, produced the great work on yoga, as also the commentary on the grammatical treatise of Panini. So something that Patanjali, along with Yoga Sutras, wrote was a commentary on Patanini's writings. Panini's writings. You attained the highest spiritual realization from the instructions of the great Gaudapada. Who's Gaudapada? In his prayer, he indicates he's a disciple of Shukadev, who's the son of Vyas. So it's Vyas, Shukadev, Gaudapada, Govindapada, Shankaracharya. Now there's a lot of time in between, so one of them must have lived very long. praying to you for instruction in the truth of Brahman, I salute you, the repository of great virtues. This was a prayer that he recited, and his guru to be, Govindapada, was in a state of trance. He came out of that state of trance and hearing these prayers said to Shankaracharya, who are you? Listen to this one. Here's his answer of who he is. Revered sir, I am neither the earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, nor sky, nor any of their properties. I am not the senses and the mind even. I am Shiva, the division-less essence of consciousness. It's Advaita philosophy, identifying himself as Lord Shiva. So Govindapada was very happy. Oh, you've got a very nice explanation. Yes, indeed, you are Lord Shiva. You are Lord Shiva himself, and you've come to earth in a human form. So now he wants to show reciprocation with Shankaracharya, so he sticks his feet out this 1 cubit distance opening of his cave, and Shankaracharya worships his feet with complete devotion. The message here is, even for one who has knowledge, they should receive knowledge in this method of guru-shishya relationship. He's setting that example. So now the teacher decides to instruct him in Brahma Vidya, knowledge of transcendence. And a very key part becomes a key cornerstone part of Shankaracharya's teachings later, is these mahavakyas. You've heard the term before? Maha means great. It's not just something you eat. Maha means great. And vakya means something spoken. So within the Upanishads, they're selected, cherry-picked kind of very, very special verses or phrases that the whole of impersonalism is resting on. So his guru taught him what these 4 principal mahavakyas are. Here's one of them. Pragyanam Brahma. Brahman is pure consciousness. Another one we know, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, and Ayamatma Brahma. There's so volumes and volumes and volumes have been written and spoken about these mahavakyas, and the rendering by this particular teacher of Shankaracharya was the Advaita doctrine version. He got the essence of Vedanta philosophy. So this is a part that I would wonder how his guru was an impersonalist. Because you go like this. Vyas was the son of Parashara Muni. Shukadeva was his son. Gaudapada was Sukadeva Goswami's disciple. And Gaudapada had this disciple Govindapada. And somehow Govindapada became an impersonalist. So anticipating a question, how did that happen? The answer is, I don't know how it happened. But somehow it happened. So he received knowledge of Brahman. Here's a photograph of what is said to be the place. Now, whether that was the place or not, I don't know. But it's said to be the place. And inside, there's this little murti of his guru, Govindapada. On the outside is Shankaracharya, The inside is the cave, and there's the Govindapada in his cave giving him knowledge of Vedanta. After that exchange with his guru, there was a heavy rain along the bank of the river Narmada. Remember, this place is 2,000 kilometers away from his home. And as this flooding was going on, he, Shankara, is completely immersed in contemplation of these Mahavakyas. And it was the rainy season, so particularly during the rainy season, Lord Indra was in a bit of a tiff. He was thinking, according to this biography, he was thinking, these sannyasis, they're not doing their rituals. They're not offering to the demigods, and me included. And so, how is this? They're receiving so much benefit, and they're not making any offerings? So he decided to have a big rain. For 5 days, there was such rain that the Narmada River was flooding. And as the Narmada River was flooding, people were suffering. Rather than reading all of this, here's a nice painting. He, Shankaracharya, doing his meditation on Atma, sitting on the banks of the river, and everything's flooding for 5 continuous days, destroying trees, threatening lives. So what did Shankaracharya do? He had this kamandalu, this little pot that renunciates would carry, and he gathered up all the water, the flood water, into his little pot by mantra, making everything safe for everybody. The comparison in this biography is Agastya Muni had done something similar to rescue people when the ocean was overflooding and causing problem. Agastya rescued people. So Shankara rescued the people of this area around the Narmada River. And news of that came back to his guru, and his guru was very pleased. So now his guru was going to give him sannyas. Here's an image. Govindapada, after coming to external consciousness, heard about what Shankaracharya had just done, saving the people along the banks of the river Narmada. And once the weather cleared, he instructed him to go to Varanasi. Now, Varanasi is known as a place where there's lots of impersonalists. It's like a headquarters, a northern, compared to Sringeri, it's very filled with impersonalists. So here he is, Shankara, young sannyasi, paid obeisances and traveled to Varanasi. He lived for Varanasi for some time, daily worshipping his deity of Lord Shiva. Now something happened when he came to this place. They were walking, he and his disciples were walking along the bank of the Ganga, and they saw a hunter who looked like kind of an Aborigine type person, and together with him there were 4 dogs. So the Aborigine and the 4 dogs are unclean. They asked him kindly, could you step aside because, you know, we don't want to become contaminated. It was spoken politely, and the Aborigine spoke in Sanskrit, very elevated Sanskrit, very high philosophy. Basically, it's a very long narration, but basically impersonal. So you have this conviction in Atma, but you're identifying me in terms of the body. So is this a double talk? I mean, he said it elaborately and eloquently, but essentially that's what he was saying. So why are you making this discrimination? Do you believe in your teachings or not? Was what he was saying. And Shankaracharya replied by saying, everything that you have said is correct. And I honor you. I don't know who you are, but you're a very elevated personality. You're not a tribal person, you're not an outcast, you're not a hunter, you're something else. And so, as the painting illustrates, he then transformed himself into a form of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva revealed himself in his form with matted hair, crescent moon on his head, and the four Vedas, the four dogs were the four Vedas, by his side. And Lord Shiva gave him this blessing, because he's the incarnation of Lord Shiva. Shiva gave a blessing to Lord Shiva, or his incarnation. Please do the work that you come to this realm to do. You come to restore faith in the Vedas and to teach Advaita Vedanta. Please go forward. So we're almost done for this evening. This lineage in Sringeri Math has continued for many, many, many generations. Like many generations. And the persons who are there back, circling back to a topic that we spoke at the beginning, these persons, they're very elevated. Their ideology isn't something we agree with, but their character is very elevated. They're very strict. Here's a photograph of one of the more recent acharyas in Sringeri Math. And here's one who came after him. And then another one who came after him. And here's the living condition where one of them was engaged in. So we're going to be visiting Sringeri Math during our yatra. And I mean, if I'll just say, on a personal note, it's going to be a little challenging for me. On the one hand, to follow what Rishabh Dev said, being respectful to these personalities because they're mahats, meaning they're on the path of striving for transcendence and leaving the temporary behind. Very sincerely, very earnestly. That part is nice. And they're and strong, good character, strong renunciation, strong in lots of ways. And their philosophy is something else. So we're probably not going to get into philosophical discussions with these personalities. But they're to be respected because they're transcendentalists. Not only respected, respect is one thing. What Rishabh Dev is saying is serve. So one of the services that we'll be doing is whatever their procedures and protocols and so forth, we're going to comply. We're visitors to their place and we should be respectful of their place. Not their teachings, that's another thing. But the gift that Shankaracharya gave the world, detachment, Prabhupada would speak on it so much, detachment from the temporary, and then attachment to the eternal. Then comes what's the eternal. And there's different conceptions of what is Brahman. So we'll hear a little bit more about it tomorrow. Any discussion? Yesterday Madhvacharya, today Shankaracharya. Kind of like two opposite ends of a pole. We have a portable microphone. Would you like to use it? It's different. It's not something we're used to hearing in a Hare Krishna temple.
Maharaj, from historical perspective, it does make an excellent narrative. But if we focus on their individual lives, the people living at that time.
Yes.
So is it like at that time, lot more people were getting recruited for Brahman, and later on when Madhvacharya came, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, so the recruitment for Vaikuntha, Guru Vrindavan increased far more. So from historical narrative perspective, it makes excellent
Yes.
turn of events. But from individual lives perspective, the people living at that time, they will not have the facility for going directly to Godhead, right? They will go net up in Brahman mostly. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm this.
Yeah.
So this facility, yes.
For most people, they're adharmic altogether. Even if they profess dharma, they're adharmic largely. Everything is becoming, Kali Yuga is progressing and everything is becoming deteriorated. So this is to help people become elevated from deteriorated.
So Maharaj, the facility for Godhead or Brahman or Vaikunt, it's not same across time, right?
It's not what?
Same across time. So if you're in a certain phase, then your facility for Godhead is almost nil, or in other times, the facility for Godhead is almost,
No, if the door is open, the sun is shining all the time. It's nighttime, so we don't see the sun. But the sun is shining even when it's nighttime, just some other place it's shining. So the facility is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because we're followers of Lord Chaitanya. The mercy of Lord Chaitanya is accessible to everyone. Say it negatively. No one is ineligible. Eligibility is not determined by something material. It's an essential teaching of the Bhagvatam. And it's essential, for example, essential teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. There's no material qualification, disqualification. No, it may take a while for wet wood to become dry wood before it ignites. But wet wood can ignite by association with fire. The wet wood can become dry wood, can ignite.
Yes, Maharaj. I mean, if we consider the soul's journey across history, then definitely the wet wood eventually become dry, and it will, be ready to get light up. But if somebody is way too serious during the time of Shankaracharya, he would definitely end up in Brahman only. He will not get the...
Don't get lost in the destination. One could say, in essence what you're saying is that's a misfortune.
I'm sorry if I conveyed that.
Huh?
I'm sorry, that's not my intention, but...
it sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're maybe not making a judgment, you're just saying that's going to be their destination, period. You follow his teachings, and that's where the teachings point to. Now exactly, that is a whole other conversation. What do they actually achieve? So this isn't, I'm not inviting a philosophical dialogue. They're just speaking about his life and the contribution that he made is restoring faith and the authority of the Vedas. That's what he did. It's not, what the destination is from him and his followers then and today. That's another discussion. Give the microphone to him.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Maharaj, it is said that in starting that Buddha preached voidism, then Shankarapad preached this. So it is said that Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel and misery, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave Harinam. Although it is said that people in this age, in certain period of time, will be less qualified to understand. So when Adi Shankaracharya was restoring Vedas, any reason that it was not restored directly as what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, then it went through route of first Buddha, Lord Buddha, then Adi Shankaracharya and then other acharyas. Means any reasoning behind this?
I got about maybe 40% of what you said. You spoke real fast. And I'm not sure, I got the 60% I didn't get. Could you say it simpler? What's he asking?
Why did it have to go for the ultimate philosophy of Mahaprabhu from Buddha to Shankara and then Ramanuja, Madhva, etc.? Why not one step? If from
That's your question? Oh, that was pretty easy. I mean, there's no have to be anything. Visually, there's a river. There's history. And you know, the river may move this way, sometimes the waves may be like this, and sometimes the waves come back later, and it's a different way the river is moving. It followed the same basic path, but it's a little bit different when the wind and circumstances. So it didn't have to be that way, but it was that way. So in other words, in every, Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma, and after Krishna appears, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. Correct? Yes. Yes. That was a yes. Okay. So that's, then the next day of Brahma, it's not always going to be the same. So your question is, why was it this way? It's just this particular cycle in the day of Brahma, when Lord Chaitanya appears, it was like that. And it's going to be different and different and different during different days of Brahma, and even different yuga cycles, besides when Krishna and Lord Chaitanya appear. So it didn't have to be that way. It makes sense that it happened that way, but it doesn't have to make sense, and it doesn't have to happen the same way. It's the Lord's plan, a short answer. The Lord's plan. It happened that way because it was the Lord's plan. He sanctioned it, and that's how it happened. And it was good.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. My question is also related to the first one. When we say disciplic succession, then it means the disciple has to follow what his spiritual master has taught. So I could not understand that point very clearly, where we saw Vyasdeva, then Shuka. It means Srimad Bhagvatam. But then from there, Gaudapada and then Govindapada, and then further we saw Shankaracharya. So, Bhagavatam.
You're asking the question I was asking, and I preempted your question by saying I don't have an answer.
Okay.
Do you have an answer?
No, I could not understand.
That
the
makes
point.
two of us. Other than, my answer to his, the Lord had his plan. And the plan was that Adi Shankaracharya would receive Advaita Vedanta teachings from someone. So somehow, if that was the Lord's plan, that was the Lord's plan because it happened, somehow in between, a disciple, Gaudapada and Govindapada, somehow there was they switched horses so that this next event could take place. Now, how did that happen? I don't know. Why did it happen? Which is kind of like what your question is. The Lord's plan. I don't, for those, some things I don't have the answer to, so I just, this is a text that's authoritative, and accept that the text is authoritative. I don't have an answer to every question, nor do you. But if you find out, please let me know. Behind you?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I am very fortunate to hear good words from you. And today actually I am very surprised that you spoke about Shankaracharya.
Me too. In an ISKCON temple.
Yes. I am speaking because you are saying this in ISKCON. And till now I have heard different words, but today I have heard something good. So my question is, I wanted to know that Vedanta and Vedas, they do not deny Advaita and Dvaita Siddhant.
Are they what? There's some children are making noise and I'm distracted. Say it again.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, Vedantas and Vedas, they do not deny
What?
Vedas, Ved, Samved, Rigved and all, and Vedantas, they do not deny Advaita Siddhant and Dvaita Siddhant. They even do not deny Nirakar Brahm and Sakar Brahm. But when I go through the philosophy here, I find that there is a lot of contradiction and there is a lot of denial. So what is the main reason behind it?
There's so much side. I really want to know what you're asking. There's so much side noise. Could you say it? No, you shh. There's the 4 Vedas, and there's Vedanta.
And the other philosophies.
Do they speak?
No, he's asserting that they discuss both Advaita as well as other philosophical streams, and we see so much difference. So why is it so?
Okay. Does he get it? Okay. The object is one thing, and the perception of the object can be different, is different. Here's a for example. For a seminar I was giving on sound. You know who's Banu Swami? You know who he is? Yes. So he gave a seminar on mysteries of sound, one of his seminars. I liked it. So I took that topic and explored it, and it turns out that the syllable Om, Pranava, is synonymous with Vishnu. Now, there's renderings in Sanskrit that says like that, and there's statements in Jiva Goswami's writings that says like that. So when you or I or somebody read about Pranava or Om, we don't think Vishnu. But Vishnu is there. They're synonymous. So my point is, there's the object, there's the 4 Vedas, and there's the Vedanta Sutra, and some persons may see impersonalism, some persons may see personalism, some persons may see both. So your question is, why is there both? And my answer, my response is, it's the lens through which you look at a thing. It's how you see it. Well, that makes absolute truth subjective. That's not the absolute truth. So what's the absolute truth? Then comes, we learn about the absolute, it's a whole philosophical discussion. but we learn about the absolute truth through a perfect source. You don't learn about the absolute truth through an imperfect source, or something that gets a slice of the truth but not the complete picture. So then it comes going back to your question, what's the authority that you use or I use, or Shankaracharya uses, or Madhvacharya uses, or the Goswamis, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu use? What's the lens, the authority that they use to look at what Scripture says? It's the Guru Parampara. So according to your or mine or somebody's Guru Parampara, we're going to look at the thing differently. So now, back to your question. Why is there this and that? Depends on what, it may be not this and that. We'll see a little diagram. You know what a Venn diagram is? So there may be some overlap between what the impersonalist sees and the personalist sees, including Tattvamasi. Just, in preparation for this visit to Udupi and Melkote, etc. There's this nice discussion where Vedanta Deshika was a Ramanuja follower, and he was the referee to decide between an Advaita follower and a Madhva follower on Tattvamasi. That was their topic. Tattvamasi, one of the Mahavakyas. And it was a several-day discussion, and so they were the same, is it this or is it that? Is it personalism or impersonalism? Or is it both? Which is what your question is. And the answer is depends upon the lens. Then if it's just subjective, then there's nothing absolute about the Vedas. So is there correct understanding of what the Vedas say or not? So the disciplic succession is the channel through which we regard what the Vedas say. So for at least within ISKCON, the Jiva Goswami is one of the final words on how to discern between this and that, this picture, that picture. For example, in his Tattva Sandarbha, he goes through great length to answer this question. Maybe I'm over answering your question, but it's a good question. So is there an absolute perspective on what the Vedas, the four Vedas and Vedanta Sutras say? And the answer is yes, according to Jiva Goswami. Now, is there somebody that might disagree with Jiva Goswami? Of course. There's always going to be tarka apratishta, something inconclusive about this view or that view, or combination. For me, Jiva Goswami is an authority, an unquestionable authority, having gone through, and I'm not a super scholar, but having gone through what I've gone through, I have all confidence in Jiva Goswami, his teacher was Rupa Goswami, whose teacher was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I have all confidence in them. So then it boils down to faith. And hearing from authority that's a transparent authority for the absolute truth that's unmixed. Is there such a thing? Yes. What is it? Which is what your question is. I mean, one way of asking, a different way of asking what your question is. There are different features of the absolute truth within the Vedas, and it may appear that this one is being emphasized, but it may be, for a more discerning person, that it looks like this is being emphasized, but something else is being emphasized. That's one of the things that Jiva Goswami does in his writings. So supposing I don't accept him, then you'll see it differently. Then it becomes subjective. This is philosophy, spiritual philosophy. Go ahead. You got a good voice. Just say it.
Yeah, what you said is, I go by it, but what I find is there is a lot of denial towards Advaita philosophy, and there is a lot of disrespect towards, you said very good today that we should respect them, but I feel that there is a lot of disrespect towards the people who are following Advaita philosophy.
Let's keep it really simple.
Yeah.
There's the people and there's the teachings of those people.
Yeah.
It's a mistake to disrespect the people. When there's differences of ideology, then you can have discussions about ideology, but without disrespecting the person. I agree with you. That's, I'm coming from that old school that doesn't see, there's a blur between the ideology and the person. That's old school. But it's not right. I agree with you. It's immaturity. It's not culture. That's a problem.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So now what to do about the problem, what to do about any problem is become transparent and, model the right thing. I tried to do that at the very beginning, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. We're in a Hare Krishna temple. And we're followers of our founder Acharya. So I don't feel I'm disrespecting the founder Acharya by speaking the way that I'm speaking in an assembly of an ISKCON audience. It's his assembly, not mine. And I have to represent him and please him. So I don't think I'm displeasing him or being disrespectful to him or speaking contrary to him. The ideology is another topic. That's where he wanted to go. And that's not what I want to do right now. It's right in the Bhagvatam. Mahat sevam dwara mahor vimuktes. Seva, not just respect. Seva. I'll see it in Sringeri Math when we go there. We'll be very respectful. Not the philosophy is another thing, but the character of the personalities is something else. There's someone in the audience, I won't ask them to speak up, that said one of the things that helped them become an ISKCON devotee was visiting Sringeri Math and meeting some of the sadhus there, and they became so impressed with their elevatedness of character and quality that, like, in this age, this is attainable. And then when they met devotees that were representing quality and character, they were moved. That's what we need to become as an organization, or at least as an individual. Let me be responsible for myself, not for everybody. Let me be an exemplary personality that's respectful. Pandita Samadarshana. It's a high ideal, but that's a Vaishnava. Okay. Someone else.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one question.
Okay.
My respectful pranams to you. Did Mayavad philosophy exist even before Sripad Shankaracharya?
Not in its, that's a nice question. My understanding is he formalized what was already existing, but it just wasn't formalized. Now, going back in history, were there persons who had an idea that that form, anything with form is material, and that the absolute is formless? Was there such an idea before Shankaracharya formalized it? Most likely. I'm not enough of a scholar to say these 15 people had that idea before him, and he formalized it in a particular frame of references, etc. But obviously, what the Mahavakyas in the presentation that he received from Govindapada, something existed before he wrote those writings, and then popularized it or spread it around and did what he did. So most likely, but he just formalized and structured it and popularized it. It's okay? Srila Prabhupada.